Well, welcome to this episode of the Gold Arrow Camp podcast. I'm so excited to have as my guest today, Pua. Welcome, Pua.
Hi, I'm Pua. It's my second year at camp.
So excited to have you here, Pua.
Thank you.
So we were just talking a little bit before we started recording, but why don't you just tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you ended up at Gold Arrow Camp?
Okay. So, yeah, my name is Pua. I'm from Mexico City, Mexico. And when I first, I didn't know, camps were an actual thing in America. Because, for me, it was it's the Parent Trap. And it is taken from the Parent Trap. But then, at my college, we have these visa agencies, all around the world for international people coming to camp. And one of those agencies came to my college, to promote themselves. And they were like, oh, you want to, teach something you love while working, while being in America, learning new things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, yes. And they're like, you want to be in the Parent Trap? And I was so in. I was like, yes, I want to be in the Parent Trap.
We were just talking about the Parent Trap. So some of the older set of stuff, there was an original Parent Trap that was
really?
in the 70s or 80s. It was in the 70s. But you probably do the new one, right, with Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I was born in 2003.
Uh-huh.
So when it came out, I think I wasn't born yet, but it's part of my childhood. So yeah, Lindsay Lohan. And they were like, no, because you get paid so and so, this is the minimum, you have to go for minimum this and so time. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. And I started my process, and honestly, I started pretty late. I don't know how I got here, because when I first got to know about being a counselor, it was February. Mm-hmm. And so I applied pretty late. And I started looking for camps and applying, and I always got rejected because they had their stuff full, which understandable. But then I applied, I saw Gold Arrow, and honestly I was a little hesitant because I was they don't have electricity. It says on the profile they don't have electricity. They camp sleep, staff sleeps on tents, and I'm like, how's that going to be? Me in Mexico City be like,
you're a city girl.
Yeah, I'm a city girl. I'm like, how's that gonna be? But then I was like, okay, let's apply for the sake of not trying. Avoiding not trying. So I applied, and I heard back from camp, and they told me oh, we saw you have horseback riding experience. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I actually do. And they hired me on horses, which I am very happy about. And the visa process, I think that's the fastest visa I've ever gotten in my life. I got hired, I think May 2nd or something. I had my first visa appointment on May 10th and the second one on May 17th. And I had to come here at June 6th or something like that. It was crazy fast. And then as the date came near, I was like, do I really want to go? Do I really want to leave home? Do I really gonna get on a plane by myself? And also about that, I just told you this, but coming to camp was simultaneously the best and the worst experience of my life. The process of coming, not actually be here, but coming, because everything happened the day. It was my first time alone on a plane. I had to take 2 planes to come here. And then I knew absolutely nobody. I only knew Delta, which was who hired me. I only knew her from the interview. And then I arrived very late at night too. And I could barely talk with anyone, because up to this point, I've been an introvert my whole life. And up to this point, I had about 2-ish years, forcing myself to be an extrovert. And when I first came here, I was like, I think I'm not an extrovert. No, let's get out of here. And I remember, when we first come here, we get here the week before session 1. We have a full week with only the staff. It's called Tweak. And I was in cabin 11, which is my actual cabin as a counselor right now. And cabin 11 is very far up, a lot of rocks going there. And I remember my head counselor showed me oh, this is your cabin. And I arrived and I was like, no, there's no way. What do you mean this is my cabin? But I managed. I absolutely broke down my first campfire, because they were like, let's do high-low hero. And I was like, no, all of this. Literally broke down. I was like, no, I cannot. And I remember I was not homesick. I was not really like missing my home, my parents. I was just like hating like being fully in the unknown. Like I was completely out of my comfort zone, and it was completely uncomfortable. Like, and I was like, what if I like book a plane to Mexico right now? What would happen? Like, would it be too bad? But I managed because, principally because it was like, no, my parents like really did an effort to bring me here, and I don't want to let them down. And also, like, it's been a day. I have to chill. So
I'm so glad you stayed, by the
I
way.
feel that too.
And now it's your second year
It's
now.
my second
so
year.
obviously it got better.
It did get better, yeah.
after
After
that
training
first
week,
day.
I started making friends, having fun making friends and growing. Literally, I started knowing people, and then I also got to know like the horses team and my cabin from the training week and all that stuff. And yeah, that's when I discovered I was not really fully an extrovert. I had a kind of like a rough time, but again, I made friends. It was fine. And by the end of week, and kind of like midway through session one, it's like 2 week sessions. I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this summer, and I'm never coming back. And I was like, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna be the best counselor I can, but I am staying home next year. And I just managed. And then the campers came, and I have a very weak heart. I love children. That's why I came here too. Like I love like the kids. I have a very big family. I don't know if you know this. My mom's the youngest of 11 siblings. So there's always toddlers and babies and like little children in my family. And I love them with all my heart. So that also was like in my profile. I was like, what experience do you have with children? My family.
Yeah.
I always take care of the younger ones. So the kids started coming here, and I was like, well, they're not like, I'm gonna have like a language barrier, or like, because I like to think my English is good, but it's still my second language. I still have an accent. I still have like some kind of impediments sometimes. And I was like, everything is gonna like, I'm gonna mess it up, something's gonna happen. And I remember my first cabin ever was cabin 13. It's youngest tigers, which is like 10-year-olds-ish, like a finishing 4th grade. And the kids started coming, and at night I was very shocked because like I did a night routine with them, and like I gave them good night. And I remember, Julia, if you're saying this, I'm talking about you. I remember when I was like, you want a high five or a hug? Julia was the first one to ask me for a hug, and she was like, huggy, and I'm like, why does she love me so much right now? Like, and that's when it really sunk in, like, okay, I can do this, you know. And a bunch of them asked for a hug, and a bunch of them asked for a high five. It's fine, they chose. And of course, I was like down for all of them. And then, like, I managed to do the session. I was like, okay, like, this is nice. I may not be coming back, but this is nice. And then I got session 2. I got bears. I think that was my favorite cabin so far. Cabin 11. It was cabin 11 actually too. I love cabin 11 so much. I'm connected to cabin 11.
You guys have deep roots, you and Cabin
Deep
11.
roots. And so the more I got to know the kids, session 1, cabin 13, session 2, cabin 11, I like fell more and more in love with the idea of like being a counselor and like being with the campers. And also I got like, I made more friends. I talked more, like I was more like, you know, getting like a fish in the water. And then session 3, I got the youngest boys, and I was like, what is this? I'm supposed to only be with girls. That was somewhat of a tough session because like they were so young and they needed more help, but I couldn't really do it because I'm a girl, and like I couldn't take them to the bathroom. I couldn't like take care of showers. I couldn't like take care of them while they change their clothes, and I was like, what can I do? But that's when it really like I really enjoyed my cabin. I did what I could, but I really enjoyed them too. And that's when it also like dawned on me, like I really have friends. I love my friends. I love my coach. My 2 coaches that session were like one of the closest guy friends I had the last year, and I think they're the only reason. Like I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm not being a bad co. Like I got this. The kids are fine. We're fine. And then by session 4, I was like, I'm so coming back. Like, yeah, and they're like, "Paul, you're coming back?" Yes, I am. And that time also horses, like, I got the best along with the team by that point too. And I like to think my English improved too, because before coming here, I hadn't spoken English in like 4 years, I think.
Wow.
Like I spoke little to no English because my last lessons were like 16, and I was 20 when I first came. So yeah, I hadn't spoken English in a lot of time. And also, I was like, I'm not gonna understand. Like people are gonna talk to me, and I'm gonna be like, no, yes, what should I say? And yeah, so then I came back home. I broke down again, but I was like, can I go back? And
You mean you broke down after getting home because you missed camp?
um,
Or you broke down?
because I miss my parents. I not really miss them, but like not really homesick. But also, I've heard about like post camp depression. I didn't really have it, but only because like I like left my plane left at like 12 a.m. on the Sunday, like after I left camp, and then I arrived home at like 9 in the morning, and then the next day at 7 a.m. I was in an internship I had in a hotel, and that was for the whole semester. So I was working so much. I worked I think for like 6 months straight, including camp. So I didn't really have time to think about I miss camp. But what I do remember is that in the hotel they gave me like my name tag because I technically was like working there, except they didn't pay me. But that's what an internship's about. And they gave me my name tag, and it had my real name on it. I'm not gonna name drop myself, but it had my real name. And I was like looking at the name tag, and I'm like, who's this? Why do I say Pua? Like, what's this?
That's funny because
Yeah,
you're so used to your.
and I was
family.
wearing it, and I was like, who's this? I was like, no, no. And it's funny because I also had such a hard time. Like, it took me like full 3 days to answer to the name Pua. Like, people would say Pua Pua, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah, sorry. And so I had a hard time getting like used to my real name again. I had a full identity crisis. I'm like, who am I? But then I came back this year, and like, easy. I don't know how it's gonna be answering to my real name again, but
That's such a great story, and it's interesting because as you were talking, I was thinking about how similar it is for campers. Really, like coming the first time. This is so crazy for these kids. A lot of these kids, it's their first time being away from home. For sure, the first time is like kind of living outdoors in a tent, sleeping in a sleeping bag,
in this living
living
bag,
in a tent with like 12 or 14 people. There's a lot of things that are new, and it's the same for staff when you come for the first time because this is so different from like normal life.
yeah.
So that's interesting how, and your trajectory, I think, the kids have shorter stays, so they go through those things a little faster, like where they're the first couple, there are kids who are the first day are like, I've made a mistake.
Yeah,
this isn't for
exactly.
me.
Exactly. I think that's also
Yeah.
the reason why we have a lot of like, especially with the younger kids, like they cry a lot on the first like 2-3 nights because they're so homesick because they're getting used to the change.
Yeah. And then by the end, of course, people are crying about leaving.
By the end, they cry. Yeah. I have this very like I remember also cabin 13, my first cabin ever. I had a first year who was very homesick, and like she would cry at night, like the first 2 or 3 nights or something. She was like, "Oh, I'm so homesick," and I was like, hugged her, and I was like, "You want to know a secret? I'm homesick too, but we're managing." And then the last campfire, appreciation campfire, she was crying so hard because she didn't want to leave, and I'm like, "Are you homesick or are you not?"
Yeah, I know. Well, but I love that, and I love that you came back. Another thing I just want to talk to you about is, here at Camp we have a lot of international staff, and right now, actually, kind of a lot from Mexico and Colombia.
Yay,
so
love the
we do
Latinos.
have a lot of Spanish-speaking staff. That you're bilingual, but so I love that the culture here is a lot. I mean, I'm always trying to practice my Spanish. With you.
Love the Spanish.
Yeah, and then I also know that both our American staff and our international staff have really benefited from making friends with people all over the world.
Yeah, that just happened in the period before this interview. We had a like activity period, and we have Champo's cabin. Champo is a guy from United Kingdom, England.
Yep.
From over there, and he was like, "I'm coming to Mexico after camp," and he's like going through states we Mexicans are like living in. So I think like a lot of people also benefit from the fact like you can travel more, know more like the culture like deeper. Also like sometimes without even paying a hotel, like it's very like a win-win. for
yeah.
everyone.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know we have this large group of staff, not currently, but we used to. Dutchie, actually, who's here right now on Shaver, she was one of the original staff from the Netherlands. And there are probably like 15 people over this, like maybe 10 or 15-year period that came from this one town called Woerden in the Netherlands. And I've now been there twice.
Oh, love
And it's
that.
so fun to go to a place where you know people and you have friends there because you get like the inside experience. It's not
Exactly. It's
just
not
like
like
tourist.
the
Yeah.
average tourist experience. It's like
Yes.
you get to view it like a local.
Yes, and see the local stuff and what real people who live there do, not just what they where they send the tourists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I've loved. I mean, I love hearing about all the adventures of all of you staff and the travels, whether it's all year after camp, and how well you all stay connected with each other.
Yeah, I was also like, I don't know if I'm pretty sure this happens to a lot of people, but like we like at some point we all follow each other on Instagram, like internationals, Americans, all this stuff, and like I would see a post like so and like, who is this person? Like, why am I following? I don't know, like
Because you don't
how
know
do you
their real name.
yeah, well, I do, but at the same time I don't. Like, let's
Yeah.
say, why do I follow Kayla?
Yeah.
And like, who is Kayla? Like,
Right. Right.
and then I look at the picture and I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah.
whatever. No,
Yeah,
it's Pine Tree. And I'm like, oh, Pine Tree.
Yeah.
Not Kayla, Pine Tree.
I know. I don't even try to learn people's real names. I'm
No.
just like I know everyone's camp names and
I only
just have
know
to
like
ask, yeah.
the 3 persons I'm the closest with.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, switching gears, Pua, how do you feel like you've kind of shared a lot about your experience? How do you feel like you've grown or changed
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Yeah.
because of your time here at camp?
I really do think camp changed my life for the best, like the absolute best. As yeah, I just talked about this. I was forcing because like I've always been an introvert person, and like when I entered college, it's about to be 3 years now. 3 years ago, I was like, I'm being an extrovert. Like I'm done with being an introvert. I want to be an extrovert because like the world is not made from introverts. It's made for extroverts. And so I came to college and I like enrolled in like 3 different programs, like volunteers and then all this stuff because I was like, I want to be an extrovert. And every time I suffered through it because deep down I'm not an extrovert. But I tried and I got in the student council and all this stuff. And when the opportunity to come to camp like was presented to me, I was like, yeah, I'm already an extrovert. I was not. But in camp, like Gold Arrow was what actually made me an extrovert now. And I know it because I had the biggest change in my mentality, like genuinely. Before, like actually being an extrovert, I'm not that big of an extrovert, I do have to say. But this is why I know I'm now an extrovert. Before this, I like the idea of meeting new people. I was like, oh my God, no. No, I don't want to meet new people. Please don't. Like, I'm gonna flee the scene. I don't want to know anyone. Like, I want to stay with my circle of 5 people. And then after being a counselor, after being here, after not being afraid to be silly, because that also like is something I really struggled with. When I went to the internship, I remember we had a new hire in like October, something like that. Like actual hire, not like me, like an internship. And they were like, "Oh, you want to meet him?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, I want to meet him." And I stopped and I was like, "What was that? Why was that? Why was I not like running away and like avoiding meeting people?" Because I have a friend who's a really big introvert, and she was like, meeting him. And I'm like, "Yes, let's meet him." And I think that was the biggest change in me, that like my mentality changed from like meeting new people to yes, let's meet new people. And I think like that's very good for a counselor. Not gonna lie. But yeah, like I know not everywhere is camp, but everywhere can be camp if you make it. And I really love to like bring it outside, and like even though back home I'm not at camp and I'm not like in the same safe space of like I love being silly, no one's gonna judge me, blah 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 blah. If I'm confident enough, I can really like bring a little piece of cake to my college, to my house, to my city. And oh, I don't know if you know this, but these next 2 semesters, I'm gonna be president of my student council, my major. So I think that mentality is what finally, like in the end, like the missing piece I was like missing, the piece I was missing for being the president of the Culinary Arts Student Council.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
Well, I would say, I think when you talk about like being like an introvert turning into an extrovert, I would say, I think you've gained confidence.
Yeah, that's it, a little.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you've gained confidence and you've gained these skills because just like we teach here, it is uncomfortable to do things that you've never done before.
It is.
And it's
It's
way
very
more
uncomfortable.
comfortable to just stay with like a small group of friends who you're familiar with.
Exactly.
Because that's another example of getting outside your comfort zone. It's uncomfortable at a class to be like, oh, hi, I'm Sunshine. You know, it's a little awkward to introduce yourself. And so that
Yeah.
is what we're all about here, right? We're teaching the kids the same thing, that you have to kind of step out and be open to meeting new people to make friends. You can't just sit and wait.
Exactly.
You've got to like do some things. And I think the more you do it and have success, then you're like, okay, now I can do it more.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think you are who you are. You have brought out these traits because of your building your confidence, because you're practicing and you came to this whole new place, which was such a risk.
It was a big race. Like,
Yeah.
I think about it, I was like, why did I even come here? Like, what was I thinking? I'm glad I did it, but like, what was I thinking?
Well, sometimes you have to do these things without too much thought, right?
True.
Because if you overthink things, you could talk yourself out of them. Sometimes you have to say, well, sounds like a good experience. I'm going to give it a go. You know, it's awesome. But I love hearing their story, and congratulations on being president.
Thank you.
So what are you studying? Explain what you're
Culinary
studying.
arts.
Culinary arts. Okay.
And I'm a horses.
Okay.
The thing is, I used to do a lot of horses when I was like in middle school.
Uh-huh.
I did it for whole middle school and like 1.5 more years. So I do have the experience, but it's not my major.
Right. Okay. So maybe sometime you need to come back and help us in our kitchen.
Maybe I could do the cakes. I love baking.
Yeah, okay. That could be a fun thing, but we love you at horses too, so
Thank you.
who knows?
Yeah, I always like tell people like the Goldera Camp's slogan is like, you know, having fun, making friends, and growing. And I remember I first read that and I was like, oh, I'm so gonna help the kids, like have fun, making friends, growing. But then I came back and I was like, I had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends, and grew a lot, like a big bunch.
Yeah, it's
Not
for
in height,
everybody.
not in height, but I grew.
It's really for everybody, even like our older staff and temporary staff. I mean, we wouldn't want to be here if we weren't having fun. We didn't have community, we hadn't made friends, and we weren't being challenged and kind of doing something new. So it doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're a camper or a staff member, it's still kind of this, it's the same, we're hoping for the same outcomes. And I love, you know, we always talk about, like, I love the idea of you taking what you've done here and bringing that to other places, like your leadership at your school. That's going to be
I have
amazing.
leadership, and I'm gonna go back to it.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, anything else that you'd like to share about what Goldero Camp means to you, or anything else?
For me, like, it means a change in my life and going back to like things I love. Because like changing my life, like I just talked about it, like, you know, this change of mentality of like my full personality coming out and not like being more confident, not being afraid, so and so stuff. But also like going back to the things I love, because horses, like I stopped doing horses when I was 15 years old. And after that, I rode horses like once or twice a year at most, like on vacation. Like it was nothing significant until I came back here. I remember I got the first time on a horse in Twig, and I was like, okay, I got this. Because I was so like unsure, anxious, because I knew how to ride a horse, but I really wasn't really good yet at tacking up, like doing a lot of like horse care stuff. I was just good at riding. So I was like very anxious. I couldn't do stuff like the returning stuff, but then again, it wasn't really my fault because they were returners. But when I got on the horse, I was like, I got this. I know this is something I know. This is something I can do perfectly. Like I got this. And also like being able to be, quotation, a kid again, because like I don't really like, I do have to worry about adult stuff, but like not the same as home. Like one of my biggest concerns is like how to make the kids be happy, and like that is being a kid again. That is, you know, like learning, well, teaching them and learning with them at times. This year I got back into making friendship bracelets. I fully avoided it. The past year I made only one of these. Wait, what was? I only made this one. All the others, like, people gave them to me. I used to be a very craftsy kid when I was like 8 years old or something. But then I grew up and I was like, I'm too cool for that. Of course I was. And I remember, shout out to Frost because she makes amazing bracelets. She like was doing something in twig, and I was like, that looks fun. I want to try again. And I got back into it, and now I like to think I'm very good at it because like I already had it. I just like stopped, and then this year I returned, and now every single session my girls ask me to teach them how to make like so and so partner, like how do I make this. Like actually this one, a camper from session 1 gave it to me. It was the first bracelet of this pattern she made. She was like, oh, you taught me, I'm gonna give you the first one I made. And I was like, thank you.
Are those hearts in it?
Yeah, these ones are flowers.
Okay, pretty. That is so cool. Well, I love that. It is true, like getting in touch. For a lot of adults, one way to get back to happiness is remembering what you enjoyed when you were young. I remember hearing one time, like thinking back to usually like around the age of like 11, 12, if you can remember what you liked to do then, often you still like to do it. You know, and I think about like Barrow and teaching all
the circus. Oh my God, he's so good.
I was talking to him. So he learned that as a kid. It was one of his dad.
Love that.
And how like I think about that too with our campers. That some of the things they're learning here could be things that, you know, when they're adults or in their 20s, they could come back to. You know, so I love that you came back to your crafting and your bracelets.
I'm so happy. I love it,
and you can do that anywhere.
Exactly, and all the time, like I get every single session all the time, like campers and campers are like that's big enough for my wrist, and I'm like, can you let me finish it first, and then we'll see who is it for.
Yeah, it's so fun. Well, Pua, it's been awesome chatting with you. I loved hearing your story, and I think it will resonate with a lot of people.
Hopefully.
Because I would say most people coming here feel that same kind of discomfort at the beginning, and when you stick it out,
it was so bad, I'm not gonna lie, but it was so worth it too.
Yeah, and now you look back and say, wow, aren't you glad you stayed?
I'm so glad I stayed.
We are too.
Thank you.